a client asked me, they're like, oh my gosh, that shoot was so fun. That was awesome. So what's next? Like, are you just going to go home and like go through the photos and then edit them? And I'm like, and I paused in my head. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. Do I just like lie and say, yeah, I edit them myself and blah, blah, blah? Or do I just like be honest and see what happens? Let me experiment a little bit. In today's episode, I just want to bust the myth once and for all that you are less of an artist as a photographer if you choose to outsource in your business, if you choose to get support. And that's across all areas, whether it's getting support with your editing, your culling, your album design, your bookkeeping, your marketing. Oh my gosh, there's probably so many more other things, even shooting, right? For those of you that even want to expand into having associates shooting for you as well under your brand. Like it is just this like made up illusion that I also once carried where I was like, no, I am the photographer, I am the owner of the business. And if I don't touch everything myself, if I don't make sure every little thing and detail is done by me only, then it's not, they're not going to get the experience I want them to get. Um, and that means my ego might suffer a little bit because I had to say, oh, I actually get help. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I used to be so proud. I was like, I offer a boutique experience because I do everything myself. And in my mind, that's where how I thought that people, like my clients, could be most taken care of, like in the best way possible. But until, like, I believe that until I hit this point where I was shooting about 15 weddings a year and about 15 to 20 sessions that year, and I just couldn't take on any more. I was like, okay, so if I want to continue this great experience that they're having with a fast turnaround time and all of that, then I can't take on more. But I was only making $27,000 in take home income. And I was working 12 to 15-hour days, 7 days a week. That was not sustainable. I'm like, I can't cap my bookings, but I also want to do everything myself and make sure they have an amazing experience. Like, what do I do? And so I had to figure things out. I had to see, okay, what am I willing to let go of in order to let more in of what I wanted, which was I wanted to spend more of my time shooting. I didn't want to sit behind a computer anymore. I wanted to still make sure that I got paid really well for what I did because I was working so freaking hard. And at the same time, I wanted my clients to be happy. And so I was like, you know what? If there is a problem, that means there is a solution. That is the law of polarity in life. And there's so many other businesses in this world that run with support, with employees, with help. So like, why can't I? So I'm not going to go into my full like story right now, like my outsourcing story. I've mentioned it many times on the podcast, but I do want to help you get excited about outsourcing. And something came to mind because I know, like, for me, when I heard of outsourcing first, it was actually more, I had like a more fear response, like, ooh, scary, too overwhelming. I don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know how. And so I'm not going to even try. Or, oh my gosh, this is going to cost too much. So I invite you in this episode just to like think with me a certain way and figure out for yourself if it's what you want and why you want it. So this episode isn't about the how. This isn't like this is how you do it, how to, all that stuff. That's exactly what I take you step by step in OMI, in my Outsourcing Made Easy program for photographers. But this is to help you get clarity on do like what do I want and why? And that is all you need to worry about in this episode. And you get to decide that for yourself. You have that freedom within you to say, yes, that's what I want, or no, it's not what I want. But what I want to invite you to look at is the perspective that if you get more support in your photography business, that it actually becomes your competitive advantage. And you can actually take your business to the next level and become more booked up than your quote unquote competitors. I don't know what other word to use. Like, I'm trying to think, I should have maybe just like looked at a better synonym. I don't like the word competitive because I believe like we all have our own unique, things to offer. There's no actual competition for us because every artist is so unique. Some people gravitate towards one person over the other, even if the work is similar, let's say, just over personality. But in general, like, if you think about it logically, there are people that are researching photographers and are making a decision. Okay, should we go with this family photographer or this one, or this wedding photographer or this one? Or even throughout the research process, some photographers are more discoverable than others, and that's through effective marketing. So you might even be an amazingly talented photographer, you have so much to offer, but you're just not even being noticed because you don't have the time or the capacity to market yourself. And so maybe that's why you're lacking in bookings. So, what I want you to consider is that it's possible for you to be quote unquote ahead of the game and like be more noticed and be more booked up than you have been or compared to like other photographers, um, because you have the competitive advantage of getting the support that you need in your photography business. So picture this, like, while everybody else is dragging their feet, carrying a ton of weight in their backpack, climbing a mountain, right? They're climbing the metaphorical mountain of like building their business to a point at a peak that they want to get to, right? And they're climbing and climbing, and it's so hard, and they're working so hard, and they have all this weight on their shoulders, and they're feeling stressed and burnt out. But then imagine what it would feel like to just, you're also hiking up this hill and you're about to walk past them, and then you walk past them, you see them struggling, you see them burnt out, but they're just pushing through. But you're just passing by and you're feeling light on your feet, and you're looking up at the sky, seeing the eagle flying, you're seeing the clouds, you're smelling the fresh air, and you just continue upward and upward and upward, and it feels light and fun and effortless, right? And guess what? You're going to get to that top of that mountaintop first, for sure. It's more, your pace is more sustainable because you don't have so much weight in your backpack. And the weight that I'm talking about are in a metaphor, like the tasks. So the other person is feeling weighed down and burnt out because they have so much on their to-do list. They have so much in their editing queue that they can never catch up. And so it stays with them. Think of it as like whenever you cross something off your to-do list and it's done, the rock comes out of your backpack, let's say, and you throw it to the side and it's done. And so your backpack is lighter right away. But we all know what it's like to be overwhelmed and bogged down with our growing to-do list. And I definitely experienced this like years ago before I started outsourcing. It's like the season starts and you feel like you got the hang of it. And then the season continues and that list just gets longer and longer and longer. And then September and October hits, at least here in Ontario, Canada, that's like the season here. And it's just like so overwhelmingly long, and you feel like you're drowning, and you feel like guilty if you even want to take time off, but you know you need the time off to recharge, like even just to go for a walk, hang out with friends. But then you're so stressed going for the walk because nothing is getting done that you rather actually sit behind your computer and just push through until you even probably sometimes pass out, or you're just like, oh, whatever, this next Netflix series, I'll binge through it, it'll get me through. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I've been through that. And so metaphorically, if you're going through those days right now where you're sitting there 12 to 15 hours a day trying to get through, you never feel caught up. You're that person that is hiking that mountain with that heavy ass backpack pushing through, and it's not enjoyable. The journey isn't enjoyable. Like, isn't the whole point of owning our own business and becoming a photographer, didn't we want to be our own bosses to enjoy the process and like enjoy running our business? But instead we're being like terrible bosses to ourselves by putting ourselves through that intense hard work, right? So what I see for you and what I see you experiencing is being that version of yourself that's walking up that hill, up that mountain with a light backpack on, and you're enjoying the journey with all of your senses, and you get to slow down without the guilt. You get to slow down without the stress. And then the cool thing is you actually get to experience more peaks of mountains because you're walking faster. You're walking faster because you're lighter, and you get to see more views. You get to experience more growth in your business. And that is what I see for you. So I want to start off by saying, like, I already mentioned I used to be ashamed that oh no, I did mention I thought it wasn't like I couldn't be seen as an artist if I outsourced. So when I finally decided to start outsourcing, I started with getting support with editing, and then a virtual assistant. And I found this really weird, like, shame of like, being like, yeah, I'm a photographer, but like I get help with my editing. I found it so awkward that I kept it to myself. And I don't know why. I don't know where this illusion came from or any of that, but maybe it's from the industry, maybe because no one really talked about getting support in their business. So I thought if I didn't, then I'm not really a photographer. But one night at an engagement session, a client asked me, they're like, oh my gosh, that shoot was so fun. That was awesome. So what's next? Like, are you just going to go home and like go through the photos and then edit them? And I'm like, and I paused in my head. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. Do I just like lie and say, yeah, I edit them myself and blah, blah, blah? Or do I just like be honest and see what happens? Let me experiment a little bit. So I'm like, okay, fuck the fear. Let me just like say honestly. And that's what it is. That's what feels good for me in my life. Like, and that's what I do. And you know what? Screw it. I want them to know. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I go through the photos. So that's when I was personally culling my work. I didn't get to the point of getting someone, a virtual assistant to cull for me at that point. I didn't get there on my outsourcing journey yet. And so I was still culling my work. So I'm like, yeah, I go through the photos. I make sure all of the like keepers are selected. So there's no like, blurry photos and all the like, you know, the ones that are way too bright, let's say, right? And then I get the photos ready for my editor, and then my editor supports me with editing because I used to sit at my computer for 12 to 15 hours a day, and it used to burn me out so much that I figured out a solution, and I pretty much trained my editor to edit exactly like I do. And I said those words, I'm like, exactly like I do, so that they don't feel like they're getting like the second whatever worst version of my work. And then I'm like, and I quality check it, and then it's sent off to you. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's like really amazing. They're like, we love that you're prioritizing your well-being because we know how hard that can be with like work-life balance. And that was their reaction. And I was like, oh my God, what was I so scared of? And literally, thanks to that couple, I never was scared to like talk about it again. And then I realized, like, if I was scared to talk about it, so many other photographers must be scared too. And they don't even know it's an option to get support like this in their business while being still seen and respected as a photographer by our clients. And so that's when I started to really share all of this and all of that. And so why am I sharing this with you? Well, for you to hear it from me and directly from other clients that they're like, "Oh, cool, we totally respect that because we all know as humans that we all work. We have certain types of jobs, and we all understand that if we don't have our time to recharge, we can't perform our best in our jobs. We all know this, right? And so if you just position it in a way where I get support in the areas that I can easily train someone to help me do something like just like I do, so that I can then rest and recharge and access more of my creativity, they're like all for it because they don't care about the process. They care about the result. They care about the process, meaning the experience they experience with you for sure. They don't care about the back end process so much. They don't care how it's done. They care that it's done. They care that the experience is curated for them, and that when they get their photos, they're as expected through setting up expectations, how they see on your website, and all of that, right? So I hope that helps like alleviate a little bit of that like resistance or stress, or you can see it in a new lens, a new perspective now. And also, I have another like response from a client to share with you. which is actually recorded. And the reason it's recorded, and you're going to hear her talk about it, is because she actually is one of my Outsourcing Made Easy students now. And she was first my wedding client. So they actually hired me to be their wedding photographer. And then in the process of that, she started to notice her love of photography and she decided to go forward with starting her own photography business. And she shares her response on the perspective because I asked her straight up, I'm like, how did you feel with knowing that I get support with culling, with editing, with album design, all those things when you were hiring me as your photographer? And so this is Nicole's response. So I would love to hear from your perspective, with at that point when you two did book me, I was speaking publicly that I outsource and I have an editor and I get help with this and that. And from your perspective, what was that experience like? Did any thoughts come to like what thoughts came to mind, if any, when you were, researching your photographer and then you decided to book me knowing that I did get support?
Yeah, I think I just thought like you were super established and professional, that like to have a team behind you means that you are really established. I feel like you have to be able to pay them, you have to be able to
Mm,
like teach them what you do, and I just feel like you wouldn't have that if you were a newer photographer or not as established. And so, and it also made me feel like you have your stuff together.
my shit together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you you're like, I'm gonna get my photos in a good amount of time and you're gonna be energized for my day because you didn't spend last night editing a wedding. So I think it just made us feel like more confident in our decision.
No, that's awesome. That's so good to hear. And I think it's going to be so reassuring for many other people. And how did you feel like after the process? Like, so I photograph your day, and then afterwards, when you receive your photos, like, was it a quick turnaround for you? Were you like surprised? Did you feel well taken care of?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a quick turnaround, and that was really exciting. So I was really happy for that because I've heard of people having to wait months and months, and I didn't have to do that. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. We got all of our wedding photos back. So yeah, that was like a really cool experience.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed Nicole's response. And I love that she's like, yeah, pretty much like I thought you were more like established, that you had your shit together, that we'd had a great experience. And these are all the things that she assumed. And then I was able to actually deliver because I saved so much time through outsourcing. Like, if you have my 3 hour post wedding workflow checklist, you can see like exactly what I outsource when, how much time it saves me. And you know that I literally shaved off 70% of my working time behind my computer thanks to this workflow. If you don't have it yet, you can grab it at the link in the show notes or sarahmonica.com/workflow. And you can like grab it for free. It'll be sent to you right away. Or you can just DM me the word workflow and it'll be sent your way. And then you'll see a graph of like exactly the amount of hours I used to spend on weddings afterwards and how much time I spend now. And the reason I'm able to like deliver on the experience to my clients consistently across the board is because I save so much time behind me sitting at a computer that I get to access so many more things. And these are the benefits I'm excited to walk you through right now. So, some of the benefits that I get to experience and also my clients get to experience is a faster turnaround time. That is so huge. Like, whenever I hear couples waiting like 2 or 3 or 4 months for their wedding photos, I'm just like, oh, it makes me a little sad because there are so many ways to like, there are just solutions to that, right? And this is exactly why I'm so passionate about outsourcing, why I'm so passionate about offering my Outsourcing Made Easy course. Like, on average, my students turn around their weddings in 2 to 3 weeks consistently. And this is with them having like so much time off in between, so much time freedom. So it is possible. There is a solution. And if you are that photographer right now that, turns weddings around in, let's say, 2, 3, 4 months, Um, do not feel guilty about it. You are a human that is doing your best to run a business. Like, you had to figure out so many things along the way. And this is just part of like the learning. And if you want to elevate your experience, that's something you get to take with you right now from this episode. And you could think like, I do want to turn around my images in like 2 to 3 weeks instead. And instead of you feeling guilty about how it's been months, just be like, okay, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take it forward and start to choose to improve my workflow moving forward. And so don't feel bad about it. You're doing your absolute best. Yeah, this is just part of owning a business, right? We learn lessons along the way and we learn how to improve our client experience along the way. Another thing, another benefit to our clients. And by the way, I always talk in the wedding perspective because I mainly photograph weddings, but everything I talk about applies to if you're just a portrait photographer. When I say just, meaning you specialize in portraits, so you don't take on weddings. Yeah, branding photographers, family photographers, commercial photographers, everything can literally be copied and applied to portrait photography as well. So keep that in mind, because some of my students have said, they're like, oh, I didn't know if like outsourcing was for me because like you always talk about weddings. I'm like, no, 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 it applies to literally the whole like gamut of being a photographer. So another benefit to your clients when you outsource is you have more energy. And again, this is how it all ties into it being your competitive advantage, right? Because number one, if you have a faster turnaround time, um, obviously the referrals are going to be that much more potent for you. They're going to be that much more excited to refer you because the confidence rises significantly when they're like, yeah, we got our wedding photos and we love them. And we got them in just 2 weeks. And their family and friends will be like, what? That's so fast. So that's like why it's an amazing marketing tool as well, right? And then when you have more energy, you end up having more creativity. So when you show up to the shoot or the wedding, you're just beaming. Like, we all know what it's like to be in the presence of someone who is drained, who is exhausted. We can feel it, right? If you even go to like a grocery store and you go through the cashier lane, like sometimes the cashier is just like just like doesn't want to be there. They're so exhausted. Maybe they're straight up don't care and they're just showing up that way and you're like, "Oh damn, they're having a bad day." Or sometimes they're just like, "Hey, how are you? You're doing good. Okay." They're cashing you through and you can tell that they're tired energetically, but they're just trying to like be nice, right? And then you can tell those cashiers that are like, how's your day going? How are you? Right? Like, you can just tell. And we all have that energy within us. And so people can tell. So when you show up to a wedding day or a shoot and you are genuinely fired up and energetic and creative and confident, like, oh my gosh, that's going to lead to them trusting you more in the process. And then we know as artists, like if we have like our clients trust us while we're shooting, our creativity expands even more, right? You'll be less micromanaged. You'll be able to create images that are like different and outside of the box, and you'll continue to grow your artistry over time, which leads obviously to being noticed more and being referred, like more referrals. All of this leads to more referrals, right? So that is huge. And again, if they're referring you to someone else, they're going to say things like, yeah, when we had our session, she just had so many ideas and they were just so energized, or we could tell that they really cared to be there, right? So these are such game changing qualities to have. Another benefit and competitive advantage to getting support in your business, because you're not bogged down by so many tasks like spending hours upon hours editing at your computer, culling, album design, creating slideshows, all these things. If you want to keep your emails, for example, because your like to-do list is so much shorter, you are able to be better at being responsive and being quick to reply to clients and on the ball and not missing when to send out their questionnaires or getting to them last minute. And people appreciate that responsiveness so much throughout the client experience, right? um, and then so as you are able to be this big ball of energy through getting support in your business, you get more referrals from happy clients. So that is one piece of the competitive advantage. You are able to get that referral base growing so much faster, right? But then the second part of it is that now that you have so much more spaciousness in your calendar and time, your marketing capacity increases so much. You can figure out a way to market your business in a way that you feel aligned with, that excites you. You can actually allocate hours to, if you've always wanted to be creative with reels, to do that. If you want to get creative with, creating collages, like collages in Canva and doing like those little carousel posts with collages with the images, like you get to do that. And that's where you get to spend more time as an artist. And again, this is only if you choose. So I always teach my students, you get to keep what you love and let go of the rest. So for example, if someone loves editing like the ceremony and the portrait part of a wedding day and you love that, like I'm like, keep that part and then let your editor edit the rest. Like that's what's so cool about this, is you get to customize it and you get to create your photography business by design pretty much. So I hope that this painted a picture of how, with you having outsourcing on your side and you delegating the tasks that drain you, that decrease your energy, and when you keep the tasks that increase your energy and light you up, I hope you can see how, compared to now photographers that choose to do everything themselves and choose to stay overworked and burnt out and drained, how you can actually climb the mountain much faster and get to more peaks much faster. um yeah, it's a total game changer. And outside of just even business, like just the growth of your business, just imagine your lifestyle, your quality of life, how you get to reach those peaks faster, but at the same time you get to slow down with your loved ones, you get to slow down with yourself on your well-being. You don't have to rush through every day like you used to. So consider consider this even as like the next part of your journey, because what got you here to this point got you here. But if you want a different result than you're experiencing right now, it won't get you there. And so something needs to shift, something needs to change. And that might be, and only you know the answer, that might be letting go of the draining stuff and getting the support that you need in your business. So with that said, I'm trying to think what else. I think that's pretty much it. So I do want to announce, this is the first time I'm announcing it on the podcast. But I'm doing things a little bit differently with reopening the doors to Outsourcing Made Easy this October. And it's going to be only a 4-day sign up window for Outsourcing Made Easy. So for those of you that don't know what the program is about, it's pretty much you get all of my smart outsourcing processes and systems and workflows, and you get to literally copy and paste them into your photography business so that you can cut back up to 70% of your time sitting behind your computer. Like instead of that, instead of just sitting there behind your computer getting paid like not as much as you want to, you get to like have the support with the tasks that bore you, that drain you, and instead say yes to like more shooting, being more creative. And that's where we make our money as photographers anyway, is in the shooting part. So you get to do more of the things that light you up while making more money at the same time. And these are results my students have time after time after time. I can't wait. You'll get to hear all the success stories. There's so many episodes of like students in different photography genres and different like budget levels, different areas, and like different chapters in their business of how they've implemented outsourcing no matter their budget level, and they've seen positive amazing results. So you'll get to hear from them too. But I did want to mention, because I want to live in alignment with my values, and as soon as something feels more draining to me, I want to let it go. And so the last couple years, last 3 years, when I was opening the doors to Outsourcing Made Easy, it was like a 9-day sign up period. And it worked for me then. But now that I'm a mom and I really like this time, especially the fall before the winter starts unrolling, like rolling up on us again, I'm like, I want as many fall days with my family as possible instead of being like in full on like launch mode and all of that. I want to be as present with my family as possible. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to make it a shorter sign up window. Those that really care to make a shift in their lives and are ready to, take their business to the next level, take the quality of life to the next level, they will be paying attention and they will make a decision within those 4 days. And then we will get the party started right afterwards when you're in OMI and I get to support you. You get to connect with the community and you get to start your transformation. So it'll be a 4-day sign up window and it'll be in October, near the end of October. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that announcement of when the doors are finally open, because then they don't open again for another whole year. So you want to be paying attention. Make sure to click the link in the show notes to get on the wait list. And then you'll be on my email list. Then you'll get the future podcast episodes coming up with all my student stories. And you'll get all of the details. You get to ask me questions on clarifying questions on like, hey, is outsourcing made easy right for me? And then I'll be able to answer accordingly, whether it is or not. And that's about it. So yeah, click the link in the show notes, get on the wait list, pay attention to when that 4-day window opens up. And yeah, also, if you aren't following me on Instagram yet, go and do that. I would love to connect with you. It's Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah, no H, Monica with a K, photo. And let me know if this episode did shift the perspective of how, holy crap, wait, I can, be I can serve my clients better while at the same time enjoying the journey and the process of my business more, while at the same time being the one that's noticed more and referred more thanks to being supported well in my business. Let me know if you're like, ooh, I never thought about it that way. And now I see it. Now I get it. Because that was the intention behind this episode. And I want you to feel excited about outsourcing, because it really, once you start the process, it actually becomes like sexy and exciting and like a fun game rather than this like big mountain that you have no idea how to climb. Remember, your job right now in this episode is to focus on what you want and why you want it, not the how. The how is the course. The how is the step-by-step. Watch this video, do this. Watch this video, do this. And then you're like, oh, now I know how to do it. Okay, easy, right? Now is for you to decide, what kind of lifestyle do I want? What kind of business do I want? And how much spaciousness do I want as an artist to grow? And that's all you need to figure out right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to connect with you in the next episode, and make sure to click the link in the show notes to get on the Outsourcing Made Easy waitlist. All right, bye. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K, photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.